Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
Welcome to the MLK Special Day edition of the Schnitzel Boys, your one-stop shop for all German-American football needs. Hey! Schnitzel, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good. You just drove back from Vermont to the snowstorm?
I drove back from Vermont in a snowstorm. Yeah, it was fine, I guess. I mean, that's, it was a ski trip, so that's kind of it's an occupational hazard. It's part of the, sometimes it snows when you go on ski trips. I've driven in a lot of shitty conditions. Today was not that bad, but it just takes a little longer. Also, my
second time to Vermont in the last couple months.
The third trip of the season.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I know. And you were in Colorado before. Yeah,
I like the winter sports. It helps with it cured my seasonal depression. Winter sports. It's good.
Oh, you know what's funny? I might get into exactly the same thing. Like I went to a snowy village before Christmas. Everyone was skiing. I used to ski as a kid, and I miss it. So who knows? Maybe I'll lose some weight this year, get fit, and go skiing next season. We'll see.
I'll hold you to it. That'd be good. I mean, I used to get really down in the wintertime, and when I started, I didn't start skiing until my 30s, and it really made a difference. So it's good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, SAD is really here on the West Coast. This is my first sort of winter in Los Angeles, on the West Coast, and I was surprised that the days are really short and it's cold and it's rainy. I mean, not so long. It's actually pretty nice these days in January, but in like November and December, I was like, whoa, these are the same winters I remember on the East Coast too.
You get a little flavor of seasons,
flavor of seasons. Not in Florida where my folks are. Florida's got none of that. But
no,
but California does. So I was like impressed. I was like, oh wow, I can get SAD here too.
You have you're only like what 5 hours away from Mammoth Mountain, where they have a lot of snow.
Maybe where's Mammoth Mountain?
Mammoth Mountain, I think, is like 5 hours north, slightly east of LA. Yep. And it's a great ski area. I've never been, but I've been wanting to go.
We will go. I took a visit once to Big Sky, Montana.
Oh yeah,
really really cool. Big Sky with I think it has like the North America's second largest ski mountain or something like that. They always have everyone has their stats.
Their stats that they brag about. Yes, right.
Yeah, because I think the biggest is in Canada somewhere, right? As far as North American skiing, I think Canada has the biggest ski resorts or something.
Like by
Canada somewhere,
right? I'm sure.
Who knows? Maybe there's 5 biggest ski mountains in North America, all over North America. Who knows? All I know is
they got big mountains in Canada.
Sports podcast.
I mean,
sports. This is
podcast. That's true. It's all about the foosball. I'm wearing my championship hat that just arrived. It has the MLS Cup on it. You see that?
Championships.
Last
week it was a shirt.
I have a weakness. I am very susceptible to the championship merch. I have.
No, you're good. I was toying last night about designing some Schnitzel Boys merch. So
yes,
keep apprised to that. Maybe we'll have some merch coming out soon.
We'll have point. So we would have a logo. This hat would be available with our logo, and then they would be instead of MLS Cup, it would be a schnitzel, a gigantic schnitzel.
It'll be a golden schnitzel. It'll be like a golden schnitzel cup.
It could even be a schnitzel-shaped hat.
The cool thing about the Schnitzel Cup is everybody's a winner. It's no knockout round. Everybody wins.
It's the ultimate participation trophy. A schnitzel.
Yeah, it's the ultimate
schnitzels for everyone.
Yeah, everyone gets a schnitzel. No one goes hungry. The Schnitzel Cup. We all get schnitzels. We all get schnitzels. So I am in the process of, also setting up my thing here for the viewers. My background's a little barren. I got some cool backgrounds coming. I got a new camera coming, so I'm upgrading my set as well. We're going to have a couple of upgrades here coming up the next couple of weeks. But speaking of upgrades, should we upgrade for this week? How about that for a second?
All right, yeah. Let's do it. Let's upgrade to the You want to do the honors?
German soccer talk right here on the Schnitzel Boys.
Should I cue it?
Yeah, it's time. Do you want to do it?
Now it's time for the German soccer rundown.
Oh.
Okay. German soccer rundown. Match day 19 started with Dortmund dominating Freiburg 5-1 on Friday with a brace from who else but the Norwegian Terminator Erling Haaland to keep the pressure on league leaders Bayern. Speaking of Bayern, they fought back, still a bit COVID ravaged, but they beat Koln 4-0 to keep themselves on tippy top. No luck from my boy Anthony Modeste this week, unfortunately. Elsewhere, Mainz beat Bochum 1-0 off a goal from winger Jeremiah Saint-Just. I believe that's how you say it. Union Berlin keep chugging along, defeating Chris Richards and Hoffenheim 2-1. After 56 days in charge, Florian Kohfeldt got his first point as head coach of Wolfsburg as they held Hertha Berlin to a scoreless draw. Unfortunately, Pellegrino Matarazzo Stuttgart could not contain Tyler Adams and RB Leipzig as they won 2-0 with the continuing revelation. It is Christopher Nkunku on target, but not for lack of trying, as Goalie putting in one of his best performances with 10 saves.
Incredible.
Gladbach skid continues. Great performance from Goalie. Gladbach skid continues, losing 2-1 to Bayer Leverkusen, including Jan Sommer blocking not one, but 2 penalties. It would have been 4-1 for Bayer Leverkusen. On Sunday, Ricardo Pepi got his first start for Augsburg, where they tied 1-1 against an energetic Timmy Chandler, who was all over the field, and his Eintracht Frankfurt. And lastly, Gonzalo Castro's rocket strikes on Bielefeld tied Julian Green's 4-2 at the battle of the bottom. And that is your German soccer rundown.
Yeah, very nice.
There we go. Yeah, beating out the music there. Sorry. I don't know what to shove in and what not to shove. But that was an overall rundown. Most games came as expected. Gladbach still losing. Wolfsburg got their point. I guess I'm trying to think, there was one relatively surprising result. I guess there were no surprising results, right? Union Berlin being Hoffenheim. Good for them.
I think that counts as a semi-surprise, no? Is the Schnitzel Boys curse is real?
Club. You know who played for Union Berlin for a long time? Dietmar Hamann. Remember we were talking about if he ever played in Germany? He played most of his career at Union Berlin, which keeps supporting my theory
that he's secretly German. Yeah.
That he's letting on. Yeah. Yeah, anyway. A lot of really good results. It's still 6-point gap. Borussia Dortmund, though, with a statement win against Freiburg. Saying, hey, we're here and we're ready to play. I'm trying to think as far as the Dortmund game, other than a great performance from Erling Haaland, and a really great couple of goals from Thomas Meunier, who essentially did back-to-back identical goals, and he's not really a big goal scorer, so that was a lot of fun for Dortmund and Meunier.
That game was over early. Yeah, he got these 2 early goals, and it got, in the words of Yogi Berra, it got late early for Freiburg in that one.
Yogi Berra, you know what Yogi Berra's favorite sport was?
Soccer? No.
Yes. No.
Oh, because he. Really?
Yogi Berra is from St. Louis. He's from The Hill, a very famous American soccer neighborhood, where back when the country didn't care about soccer, St. Louis was the exception. And the old sort of joke around town was just like, Yogi Berra can't shut up about soccer. That's what he kept talking His old baseball days. So shout out to Yogi Berra, one of the original American soccer fans, and a great baseball legend to boot.
I didn't know that. And
St. Louis, based off of it.
You're right.
St. Louis. What are you going to say about St. Louis?
St. Louis is finally getting their MLS team. 2023.
Run by
They're going to start.
Lutz
Pfannenstiel, who does a lot of ESPN commentary, and one of my
known for. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say I like him. I'm Stefan Freund.
He's played all over the world.
Not as much.
He's played it. He wrote a book about what it's like to be a professional soccer player in like 50 different leagues or something. He's played everywhere. He was, I think he played in India. He just had this big sojourn as a journeyman soccer player, playing all over the world in very obscure leagues.
Mm-hmm.
He was really enjoying the sport. And then in Germany, became a Sportdirektor. And in Germany, there is an official training course for that. Probably the only country in the world that has something like that. And then the St. Louis boys were smart enough to bring him on stateside. And just like guys like Ernst Tanner before him, maybe he can bring some of that German Sportdirektor magic to Major League Soccer.
I think it's a very promising appointment. I think, I'm very excited to see how these guys do.
I agree. I'm very excited. So Dortmund beating Freiburg.
Yep.
Bayern and Koln, very dominant. Bayern winning a 4-0. A textbook Bayern Koln game. Koln did not splash any surprises, but props to Koln for going at him. They didn't park the bus. They just went at him, played their game.
That's true.
Fortunately, Bayern played their game.
And then this happened.
So, we're nothing. But props to them.
Tolisso, great goal for Tolisso.
Great goal. I remember while it was happening, I'm like, is this going to be a goal? And boom, it was a goal. I was like,
it was nice.
That is the kind of stuff you want to see. That's like a PlayStation goal.
And Zabitzer was part of the build-up. He had a better game, I thought. Than we've been ragging on him. Now we gotta mention when he does better too. He had a good game, and I read in Kicker today on the Kicker website, Tolisso, his contract is up, and there was some talk that he probably wouldn't renew. And now that the tone has changed, they might find some reach into the cracks of the couch to find some extra cash to bring him back. And what a difference one goal makes for him. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, Bayern München are still pretty COVID ravaged, and I think their entire bench had 0 Bundesliga minutes or something like that, or less than a game's worth of Bundesliga minutes. And they still have the depth, and they still played on. It was very dominant. Like I said, the Dortmund game and the Bayern game both have previews to topics I want to talk about later. One with Erling Haaland and one with Dietmar Hamann. Dietmar Hamann, who we'll talk about in a bit.
Talking about COVID,
Talking about COVID. But as far as other game talking points, I love to talk. Let's see, we had Gladbach, Wolfsburg, and Augsburg. Sorry, I got called out for saying Boy, like a Hamburger. It's Augsburg, Wolfsburg, I think is the more proper way to say it.
Actually, I mean, in the Ruhrpott where I'm from, you definitely say Burg. But
that's what I know, because in Hamburg you say Hamburg. That's how locals say Hamburg. Yeah. It's
Augsburg.
not Hamburg. But I think in Augsburg, I don't think they say Burg in the south.
No, they don't. Burg. No, they say Augsburg.
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 Is it Wolfsburg or Wolfsburg?
Wolfsburg. I think one Burg is the same as all the Burgs. But I think in where I'm from, we say Burg. But we know
say Hamburg.
We know it's not correct. We do. Yeah. When we're trying to speak properly, we do say Burg.
Borg. You know what my favorite Borg is? The half cyborg, half human from the Star Trek series. That's my favorite Borg. The Borgs. There's Wolfsburg, Augsburg, Hamburg.
And the Cyborg. Cyborg? So we're gonna call them. So where I'm from, we would call them Cyborg.
Yeah. We're a little slow around here. You call them cyborgs. We call them cyboys. The boys are coming through. Watch out! They're gonna steal our ovens and turn them into their arms or whatever. Whatever the Borg does.
whatever they do. These boys.
These weird boys. The boys. That's like our new movie, Cyboy.
Cyboy.
It's like the Terminator with a bunch of German noodle cups. Like,
what's happening with the Cyboy again?
That guy, that's Cyboy. Always dancing around, asking for more schnitzel and Wurst.
Terrible.
Wurst boy. So anyway, let's talk Frankfurt, Augsburg.
Pepi's first start.
Pepi's first start. He played a strong full 90, I thought. Pepi's positioning is on point, right?
He's good, yeah.
My big takeaway is that dude knows where to stand. That guy's got his positioning down, you know.
Yeah.
Knipser. What to expect for a finisher like that. For
Knipser. The Knipser quality, the number one Knipser quality. Yeah, being in the right spot. Yeah.
Next stop is to slam the ball maybe a little bit harder, get it on point, and get that goal. I think his finishing left a little to be desired. It wasn't terrible finishing by any means. He had a pretty great chance 10 minutes in where it was 1-on-1 on the keeper, and he kicked it kind of sideways. But, you know, the keeper limited his angles, so it's not an easy finish. The one finish he did was like 5 seconds after the referee whistled for what was seemingly a penalty, but ended up being a foul against the attacker.
Against Augsburg.
Yeah, against Augsburg.
Zakiri?
Or was it Zakiri? Maybe it was Zakiri.
Yeah.
Yeah. He ended up stepping on the foot of a defender with studs up. I thought at the end of the day it was a good call. I thought giving him a yellow for that, because it didn't seem super intentional, was a good call. So it's a shame that Pepi's goal was taken away because of a seemingly silly foul only a few seconds prior. But at least that could help him confidence-wise. And be like, Pepi's like, I can put the ball in the back of the net. I can do that. We just had to do it next time when the play is in play.
When actually it's when it'll count, yeah.
But Timmy Chandler was like man of the match for Frankfurt, wasn't he? He was freaking.
He played well, yeah. I thought
it's like he was. I was just surprised that most plays seemed to go through him. He was crossing in. He was just playing as a great left wing back, and for the U.S. with their shallow left back options, it's interesting that Timmy Chandler's hanging around, crushing it as a left wing back for Eintracht Frankfurt, who play really well under Oliver Glasner. And I do think Frankfurt won the coaching carousel last year. All the coaches switched, and as you can see with what's going on, Wolfsburg should not have gotten rid of Oliver Glasner. Wolfsburg, the half team, half robot.
Wolfsburg.
Wolfsburg. Yeah, his name is Wolfsburg. I mean, ever since Glasner left, what has Wolfsburg been but just a giant dumpster fire? And Eintracht Frankfurt are playing better than they've been playing for quite some time. And Frankfurt.
So wait. Before we move on though, I want to hear you say it. Do you want Timmy Chandler to be back in the national team?
No. I'm just saying it's interesting because the thing it's just so sad watching Timmy Chandler play, because kind of like Fabian Johnson, like he's so good for his club, but he's a club player. Like when you ask him to fly across the Atlantic and put on the national team jersey here, he's only half the player at best. You know what I mean? I just don't think his heart is in it.
Yeah, he wasn't.
He's really very much a mercenary. So I would love for Timmy Chandler at his best to play for the U.S. Yes, the Timmy Chandler I saw yesterday, I would love for that guy to be on the U.S. national team playing for left back for us. I would love for that guy to do it. However, he has proven time and time again that that's not the guy who shows up to play for the U.S., unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So I'm not interested in the guy that has showed up for the U.S. That guy I don't want. So in a weird world, because say he's in his prime right now, say he's playing well and he wants to play like that, if he calls Greg and is like, listen, man, I want to play for the U.S., I want to play for the team, I want to play my heart out, and I want to give you my best. If that were to happen, then I would say, yeah, I want to incorporate that on the team. I mean, wouldn't you incorporate that? I want that.
Well, it's very hypothetical. I mean, he's been pretty consistently, yeah, like you're saying, I think he's pretty consistently made clear that he's not that interested. And so it's been a while. Let the kids play.
That's right. Let the kids play. I'm just bringing it up. I'm just saying Timmy Chandler's there.
Yeah.
He's doing well. Our left back situation seems to be a little bit of mystery. We got a young Joe Scally coming up. Sam Vines is doing well in Belgium. We've got some options, Serginho Dest could maybe still play there on that side. It's not that there's no options, but it'd be nice if we had another solid left back, a veteran who could maybe show someone like a Joe Scally the way. That'd be a cool situation if that were to materialize, is all I'm going to say.
All right.
Cool. But overall, it was a great game, and Augsburg got a point. They got 1-1. Any other thoughts on the game other than the three bucket rubbers, if you saw those?
Those guys, I've seen those before. They're like the three dudes that they let in, and they make a lot of noise. Yeah, I think that's a good.
It felt like someone was shooting. Like I felt like there was a gun in the background.
It was unsettling. Yeah, I guess until you know what it is, it's a little weird. But I guess the only other thing to talk about is the Niederlechner situation. Their other kind of number 9 who was injured for a lot of the Hinrunde, and he came in for Pepi, and he had a good chance to win the game. Actually, at the very end, he could have gotten the winner. And there was some talk that he would go to the Chicago Fire, which would have been sort of funny.
I would have loved to have seen that.
The transatlantic swap. But apparently he had enough appearances now that it triggered a contract extension for him. So he's now sort of automatically extended till 2023 for Augsburg, and so he's not going anywhere. And that's just going to be interesting to watch because they're pretty much, I think, last week they both played together for a while in a 4-4-2 sort of a setup. And but that's just going to be interesting to see Pepi versus Niederlechner.
Well, from what I understand, Niederlechner has been assigned to mentor Pepi, like officially. We maybe have to check in with our friend Wolf Storm about that. But there is like young players and older players do have a mentor-mentee relationship in the German club system. I'm sure elsewhere as well. And Florian Niederlechner, a veteran Bundesliga striker who's been there, done that, a solid professional number 9.
Yeah, he's in his. I think he's
young Ricardo Pepi.
He's 31 years old. 31. He's not.
He's a career Bundesliga man. So, I would love for him to Ricardo Pepi's maybe got more raw talent, but Niederlechner's got the experience. So hopefully he can expel some wisdom on him and keep turning Ricardo Pepi into a more and more formidable striker. I think that's a win-win. I would love to have seen Niederlechner come to MLS. During the Frankfurt Koln broadcast, the play-by-play guy is like, Rafael Zichos left Koln. He was called center back to go to Chicago Fire because, quote-unquote, it was always his dream to play in the United States. Oh. So more power to Chicos and what's going on in Chicago Fire, man. I would love for Chicago Fire to load up as much Bundesliga talent as it gets its hands on. They need it. I would love to see it. So something. Overall, a good game, exciting game, 1-1. Good on it for Pepi and Augsburg. Better luck next week. And Pepi Watch is officially underway. I don't really have a Pepi Watch drop, so I'll just use this one. Will Pepi score?
Will he score in Augsburg? Will he be... Or will Florian use his mentor role to sabotage him?
Yeah. We'll see if he can become...
Richtig, genau. I'm the master, Butcher Master.
See if he can become the Butcher Master Pepi.
The Butcher Master Pepi.
Niederlechner. Butcher Master. Cool, very cool. I just want to talk real quick about Gladbach. There's not much to say. Joe Scally came on. He almost got a goal at the end.
This was on Sunday. Yeah, I did not see this game.
I watched. Did I watch the whole game? I watched at least extended highlights, maybe, of the game. Like a 30-minute on ZDF on the Sportschau, like a 30-minute
Right.
extensive highlight and review. So the next best thing to watching the full match. All I got to say is Jan Sommer, who has always been a personal favorite of mine. That dude's such a good goalkeeper. He's just such a great goalkeeper. He's
great.
Easily goalkeeper of the season, I think. Or definitely a contender, simply because without him, Gladbach would be even more hopeless than they are now. Like, he blocked 2 penalties. He's just a good all-around goalkeeper. Any club that wants a great, solid goalkeeper, you can't go wrong with Jan Sommer. Another good performance from the Swiss national team keeper. Cool. I'm trying to think. Do you want to talk?
The readers just talking about goalkeepers. The readers of Kicker magazine in Germany voted for the best goalkeeper in Germany, and it was not Manuel Neuer. It was.
Is it not Jan Sommer either?
It wasn't Jan Sommer either.
Was it Goalie?
No, it wasn't Goalie.
Was it Kevin Trapp? Also one of my favorite goalkeepers from Eintracht Frankfurt?
No. Should I tell you? It was Mark Flecken. Mark Flecken. Mark Flecken of SC Freiburg was voted the best Bundesliga goalkeeper by the readers of Kicker magazine. I thought that was interesting and noteworthy.
Well,
because
that's also those are those popularity contests. Maybe a lot of fans go on there, and I'm sure he's a solid goalkeeper if he's a starting goalkeeper for Freiburg. But as far as goalkeepers that come to mind in the Bundesliga, Mark Flecken is the first one that comes on. I think of Jan Sommer, I think of Manny Neuer, I think of Kevin Trapp, I think of Goalie first. Those are the guys that come first to mind.
Well, you should.
And I know who else I love? The Augsburg goalkeeper, the former Union Berlin goalkeeper, the guy who got into a fight with the fans a couple of years ago. That guy is just a solid beast. I just like him. He's got a really intense face. I just like that guy too. But more power to Mr. Flecken.
Mark Flecken.
On the award. Sorry you let 5 goals go past you over the weekend.
We're going to add him. Yeah, I guess this must have been before that game.
But it's against the great Norwegian Terminator. Wolfsburg. Sorry, just an old habit. Wolfsburg and Hertha played to a very, very boring 0-0 draw. But after 56 days in charge, it was Florian Kohfeld's first point. And John Brooks overall had a pretty solid game. Maybe he's getting back into form, which is good to see. I want John Brooks back healthy and strong. And, break out the champagne. They got their first point. But it seems like there's just not much going right for Wolfsburg. And bringing out winter time to do something about it, and they did nothing about it. So
I'm bringing out the juice to celebrate.
I saw that. Is that fresh pressed? What do we got there?
Fresh pressed grapefruit.
Ooh,
this is a thing in my middle age. I'm kind of I'm getting into grapefruit juice. I don't know if that's like an old man thing. I didn't used to like it. Now I enjoy it.
My parents drink grapefruit juice all the time. I'm not crazy about it, but I can totally see why. Maybe
give it time. Give it time.
Give it time. 100%. It's funny how tastes change. It's funny how stuff I loved when I was younger, I'm not crazy about now, and it's just our taste buds grow as we get more cultured, I guess. And grapefruits are in all of our future. You know what's after grapefruit juice? Prune juice.
Oh no. Oh boy.
Get ready for the prune.
Oh boy, yeah. I guess I have put myself on that trajectory, yeah.
Or 100% raw organic cranberry juice, which is really rough to drink. My parents drink that watered down sometimes. I think it's less about the taste and more about what it does with your body.
Your digestive system?
Point, that becomes more important. The other end becomes more important than the front end isn't as important as the back end. So you get my drift. All right. So speaking of front end and back end,
yeah, okay.
And you know who's on the back end is VF. Hold on. You know who's on the back end? Unfortunately, it's. Unfortunately, our boy Pellegrino Matarazzo, his VfB Stuttgart, lost 2-0 to RB Leipzig, and they are second to last in the table. Oof. Good news, the table's very tight. So next week they could very well be third place. I don't know, not third place, but next week they could very well be a mid-table team after a win. Who knows? And RB Leipzig
shouldn't have called his team great.
No. He is.
They're not that great.
Wounds,
they're not that great.
Well, in his defense, they played okay. They had a lot of chances. Goalie had like a superhuman performance.
That is true. Incredible. I mean, that is really, really a fair point. Like incredible performance. Like a couple of, I mean, he had 10 total, and a couple of them were really, really great. Yeah.
Couple line clearances. Yeah. One of those superhuman performances you get to cherish, like a 2002 Oliver Kahn style performance. Really, really good stuff.
Stuttgart may have been great, but Goalie was more great.
More great. And then Christopher Nkunku winning the penalty early and scoring the second goal. So it's a goal from Andre Silva and then Nkunku, the goal scorers. It seems like RB Leipzig is essentially quickly fixed, weren't they? They were just fixed right away.
Andre Silva unleashed now.
Yeah. He has 11 goals this season, I believe, already. So they paid a lot of money for him. He was the Frankfurt leading scorer last season. They want a goal scorer, and they got an Andre Silva. And Christopher Nkunku keeps him honest. And it seems like all is well in the state of Leipzig.
Yeah, they're making making Tedesco look good, and Jesse Marsch very, very bad.
A little less good. We'll see. But I don't think it reflects on Marsch. I think what we see with Leipzig and maybe even with Manchester United is the players are in charge, and the players can be a little whiny. They can be a little, it's not the old days of the coach his final say seems to be over, at least in most situations. I think the coach's job is more to serve the players these days, wouldn't you say?
I don't know about serving them, but yeah, you can't. It's not. Yeah, it's not the authoritarian position of alt. Like you definitely are going to need to collaborate, and some people are better at that than others. Thomas Tuchel, I thought, handled this whole Lukaku situation quite well in Chelsea. I don't know if you've been following that. Lukaku gave over the winter break, gave an interview sort of maligning Chelsea and complaining that he really would rather be in Italy. And Tuchel, set him out for one game and then said, okay, it's fine. We're over it. And
well, those comments were... It's weird how that happened. And it goes to show a little bit of the behind workings of how sort of things work. Is he gave an interview to Sky Italia in Italy 3 weeks before they became an issue.
Yeah,
it was an older interview. And then someone translated it or someone found it or it got tweeted. It essentially went viral. Somehow, someone must have made that happen based on some sort of circumstance.
But I thought they had...
old quotes.
I thought they hadn't broadcast it for a while. He had given it 3 weeks earlier, and then they sat on it for some time. And is that not what happened? I think that's how it went.
Well, they sat on it for the right time, and then it came out, and then he had to clarify, and then Tuchel and him had a clearing out meeting after he benched him for a game, and then there you go. And then it was all solved, and then Lukaku... back to playing, the jury's still out on whether Lukaku to Chelsea is a success or not. I think if you ask the Chelsea fans, they would probably say they would love it to be better than it is now.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm sure they can say that about a lot of things. But
Timo, he's doing better than better than Timo Werner. Doing better than Timo is.
Yeah. And then of course, the whole Pulisic thing. The jury's maybe still out. I don't know. He's playing week in and week out, which is good, but whether he's putting up assists and goals, that's maybe a little bit more left to be desired. I would say that, guys like Mason Mount still bring in on a regular basis. It's just with Chelsea, they have a deep
roster. And Pulisic seems to be starting continuously. And we'll see. If he can stay healthy, he'll be good.
Tuchel, originally, he was like a 12th man off the bench guy, and we don't like that.
Right.
What we're seeing is Pulisic is now becoming a semi-regular starter, which is good to see. There's improvement there. But you wanted to talk about. I'm trying to think. Just wanted
to throw in Thomas Tuchel also just got named FIFA World Coach 2021.
And So he's FIFA World Coach of the Year?
This is the world. He's the World Coach of the Year. This is for the 2021 season. So
I just remember Jürgen Klinsmann being nominated during one of his very underwhelming, lackluster U.S. national team coach years.
That would have been like
they don't watch the games, do they?
That would have been that. I mean, Milli Vanilli won a Grammy, so
the great German rock band, rap duo in the late 80s or 90s.
Rock, yeah.
What is it? Rap, right? Rap. Very sad story to that, by the way.
Very sad.
You guys know the rest of that story.
I know.
They're a good duo. Wish them the best. A tragedy fell onto one. But nowadays, what they do is like common. But back then, I guess it was a scandal. They were caught lip syncing and I guess not writing their own material.
Well, they didn't sing their own. They did not sing their material. And Anyway, it's a long story. The VH1 Behind the Music about Milli Vanilli will break your heart. It's very, very touching.
An Emmy Award winning. I mean, it isn't, but it could be. Yeah. Anyway, much love to Milli Vanilli here, my friend.
That's right.
I believe maybe one of them will find our content. Wish you the best.
We're counting on the surviving Milli Vanilli member to grow the audience.
maybe they'll be our new intro song. We should email them and be like, "Hey, we just brought you up on our podcast. I know you don't get much exposure these days, but." we should maybe go around to like a Milli Vanilli too or something.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm down.
Much love to those guys. Yeah, so good on for Tuchel. Tuchel's one of those interesting coaches where it's like he has a great. He's one of those. I think he's from Mainz. I want to say he was like a Rangnick disciple once upon a time.
Oh yeah, I think that's true.
And he worked his way up. And at Dortmund, he had problems with the Sportdirektor with what's his name? He had problems with the higher ups at Dortmund.
Michael Zorc.
Was it Michael Zorc? It might have been the other one.
Okay,
I forgot his name. It was one or two. I think he also had issues with Sven Mislintat, the old scouting director of Dortmund.
Right. Yeah. I remember that
himself. But like he left Dortmund, even though they did okay under him. Then he went to Paris Saint-Germain, which was, talking about failing up. And then, he had problems managing that party. PSG just seems just a giant ego-ridden party dumpster fire of a club.
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite of something a German would run, And they, he was doing his best there. And despite sending him to the Champions League final, a feat that very few people have ever matched, they got rid of him there too, for some reason. Maybe he also butt heads with Leonardo, their sport director. I probably can't think of two more different people than a German head coach and a Brazilian sporting director. I think I'm like more of a clash. I would love to have seen the behind the scenes of that. And then he made his way to Chelsea. It's like, dang, this guy gets gigs. And under Chelsea, under him, they've done pretty well, right? I mean,
they won the Champions League. What more do you want?
I would say that's not bad, right?
That's solid.
That's not too shabby, right? Beating Manchester City to win the Champions League crown,
Yeah.
And what a great FU to PSG for Thomas Tuchel. Like, I left. I'll win the Champions League. You continue not winning the Champions League. You have fun with a 36-year-old Lionel Messi and a 30-year-old crybaby Brazilian who has achieved almost nothing.
We have a question. We have a question from Tom. Tom is back. Hello.
Oh, hey Tom.
And he says Pulisic scored more under Lampard. Why do you think there has been a fall off under Tuchel? I think just
Pulisic. Good question.
I think he's missed a lot of time. Right? There's been.
He had the injury. He had to come back.
He's had the injury, and
he's also been out of position. He's been playing a false nine for a little bit, and that's not his position. As Americans, we don't want to see Pulisic in a false nine. As Americans, we want to see Pulisic in a left winger role. That's what we want to see. That's what I want to see. He has been playing that role lately. Against Liverpool, he played in that role, which was arguably his best game as of late. So I think I would love to see. I think Pulisic's been used to solve some issues. He played left. He played right wing back for a game once, I think, a few weeks ago. So, like, if Pulisic is playing week in and week out in a left winger role, that's what I want to see, and hopefully he can earn that spot. It might be a confidence thing. I don't know. All I know is that Pulisic can game. Pulisic is a beast of a player, and we haven't been seeing the best of Pulisic this season. We just have not. Thankfully, he's been healthy. Knock on wood. Knock on all.
Yeah. Now that I mean, it seemed the way to frame that more positively would be to say that, you know, Tuchel does seem to want to get him on the field. He does seem to want to find a place for him, and I mean, he has. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I think if he needs.
We talked about this earlier. He's played for Tuchel twice, and at Dortmund he came off the bench for Tuchel, and then when Tuchel went to Chelsea, he's like, "Oh, good, I got Pulisic. Pulisic's my 12th man." He comes as a spark plug off the bench. So Pulisic had to train Tuchel to be like, "No, I'm a man. Dang it, I'm a full-grown man. I play winger. I play left winger. I start winger," and he's done that. So now he is playing left winger relatively consistently, and we saw some positive signs against Liverpool. We need to start seeing some of the. We just need to see really affect the game in a way that really makes him cement his spot, and we've seen that before. So I think I predict that soon we will start seeing Pulisic really get into form, like Weston McKennie. Right?
That would be good. That would be good. World Cup.
There's a ago he was persona non grata. Now he's Mr. Juventus. So
there's a World Cup coming up, right? We need these. We need these guys to play the World Cup. Yeah. There's a World Cup coming up.
We got World Cup. We got qualifiers coming at the end of the month. We need them in form. This is the World Cup year. Yeah, the goal against Liverpool was fantastic.
Yeah,
100% time. I agree. I think he had a great game, and against the greatest opposition, Liverpool. So the signs are there. I think he just needs to. He just needs to keep plugging along, you know, kind of like a slow build or a snowball, get into some sort of form going. And that's what I'd love to see. And I am hoping that it is right around the corner. Excellent. So
very good.
Let's talk a couple of things here. Do you have any other thoughts on Tuchel?
On Tuchel, the FIFA World Coach of 2021? No, it's.
I'm trying to think who my world coach would have been. He probably won it because of Champions League. I mean...
Yeah, he just beat out Mancini. Of course, he would have been another good candidate for taking Italy to win the Euro.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and it's funny because Italy's on the verge of maybe not making the World Cup just a few months.
These playoffs are going to be interesting. The World Cup qualifier playoffs. It's going to either Italy or Portugal are going to miss. That's going to be pretty crazy.
Who's the Inter coach, by the way? Inter Milan. I know it was Conte, right? Who is it now? It's Inzaghi now.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened in Italy is a little crazy because a lot of leagues like Manchester City in England and PSG in France and the list goes on and on, Bayern Munich in Germany and then Juventus in Italy were just these one club super dominant leagues, and Italy is the first country to sort of break that. They're just like, now Juventus is 5th place now. Now Inter Milan's all of a sudden about to be back-to-back champions, you know.
Yeah.
So whoever gets that, I think should get a little bit of a special shout-out. So I just want to say, as far as improvement goes on the top, Inter Milan wins that award for me.
That's fair, yeah. As far as club teams go, for sure.
Yeah. So a couple topics. First things first, I would love to talk Erling Haaland for a little bit.
Okay.
Erling Haaland was caught after the game by a fellow Norwegian journalist who was on ESPN, Jan Arge Fjortoft, I think. Don't know his exact name. Jan Arge Fjortoft. I don't know his last name. Fjortoft. Jan Arge Fjortoft, I think. The Einmalige, the former Eintracht Frankfurt player, who also spent time in England. He talked to Erling Haaland after the game, and Erling Haaland vented a little bit. And what Erling Haaland said was, Dortmund is forcing me to make a decision on where I'm going right now. I don't want to do that. I just want to play football. I just want to play soccer. But Dortmund is pressuring me to make a choice now. And those were very interesting comments. And he even said it as Dortmund is forcing me to go, almost like forcing me to choose. Dortmund have backtracked. They say they don't know where that's from. They're surprised to hear those comments. And they're backtracking a little bit. But seemingly, it seems like Dortmund told him to like make a decision, like figure this stuff out now. Very much giving him the letter of the law. Like, figure this out now. Figure out where you're going, because we don't want the speculation or whatever. And that goes back to something I said a few episodes ago, where I want Dortmund to put forth effort to keep him. So for me to hear Dortmund is forcing him to leave in a way, not necessarily forcing him to leave, but forcing him to just. Dortmund are so defeatist about the idea of them being able to maybe retain his services for another couple seasons. It just seems so defeatist to me from a club. Yeah, Dortmund looked for that big payday. They have received, what was it, 600 million euros in the last couple of years of incoming transfer?
Slightly below, but not much. Yeah, like 585 or something like that. Yeah.
I mean, who has made more money off the transfer market than them? I mean, I think they've been champion. They're like the FC Dallas of the Bundesliga. They got players, they develop players, they play them, but they really just want to sell them for a profit. It's almost like they don't want to win titles anymore. Almost.
Well,
if I didn't know any better.
I mean, in fairness to Dortmund, they've been more competitive by a large margin than FC Dallas has been in MLS. Yeah. That is unfair. That is an unfair comparison for Dortmund. But
I agree. But I'm just saying the relationship to how they treat their players is maybe a little bit similar.
Trademark,
that's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, they try to keep things quiet. I mean, he's gonna leave. I think you were saying they should try to keep him. I mean, they're not going to keep him.
Yeah, but maybe for one more year. Like he has a contract in his clause. He has a clause in his contract that he can leave this summer for 70 million euros or something like that, which is a bargain price for a player like that these days. I don't know who wrote that contract, but when they signed players, they only signed him a year and a half ago. So
right.
It'd be nice if they held their players for a longer than 2 seasons, or giving them out for lower than 2 seasons. But I'm just worried that Dortmund's more worried about their bottom line, because financially Dortmund's probably doing great. Very profitable club. They spend, how much they buy him from Red Bull Salzburg for? I should look it up, but it can't have been more than like 20 million or something. I don't know how much that, or maybe a little more, maybe 30 million or something.
No, it's going to be good. It's going to be good for them. Yeah. And they don't want this to drag out. They want they want a decision to be made. I mean, I can see it. I can see it both ways.
Well, he's playing great. He's in great form. I think for a club executive, it's a bad idea to mind screw your players while they're in great form. Just let them play for a bit. If he goes to Real Madrid, I mean, where is he going to go? He's going to go to Real Madrid, maybe Barcelona if they can afford him. Manchester City is probably close to the top of that favorites list. Chelsea would love to have him. Maybe in a weird backwards world, Manchester United, because even though it's tough to be there, they seemingly have just an endless well of cash to be able to buy players from. I mean, there you go. He's going to end up in one of those 5 places, I would say. Maybe Liverpool.
Well, it sounded like he was preferring. It didn't sound like, I don't know. This is all kind of, through the grapevine. But it sounded like he didn't really want to go to England. He was preferring a move to Spain, and maybe he's trying to buy some time for those teams to get their finances in order so that they can afford him.
Well, I mean, it would be a good move for Barcelona because of the contract clause. If there was no contract clause, Erling Haaland would be a $150 million player. Like, if there were no contract clause, Erling Haaland could easily have been the most expensive transfer in the world outside of Neymar this summer, probably. But they have a contract clause where they can get him at $70 million, which these days for a player like that is kind of a bargain. And Barcelona do not have the resources they once had, but maybe they can be able to scrounge up $70 million for one transfer this summer. Maybe. We'll see.
I don't know.
Real Madrid would be able to get his hands on him. But then there you go. If Barcelona has to wait a whole another year, Dortmund should keep him for another year. I mean, I just, if I'm a Dortmund fan, I'd be like, do your best to keep that guy here. Stop. He's still young. 2 or 3 more seasons in the Bundesliga will be just fine for him. There's still plenty of time for him to go play Barcelona later, So, I just wanted to bring that up to be like, if I'm a Dortmund fan, I would not be happy with my club's executive board treating him just like a chess piece and telling him to out because we don't want to, they need to value him like a little bit more of a special prize, and he is.
Yeah, he needs to feel he wants. Makes sense. He wants to feel the love.
Before him they had Paco Alcácer on loan, I believe from Barcelona. They had the Chelsea player Ish Bichouai. What was his name? I forgot his name. Ish Bichouai or something. Great player,
I don't know.
solid player.
There's Jordan Sancho was there.
Sancho, but it's just a string of players that were very serviceable. Erling Haaland's the first dude who's also world class and really the answer to Robert Lewandowski. He's like, so if you got a guy like that, I mean, how easy are you going to replace him? I think in general, this is just something clubs should do in general. Value your special players a little bit more. Barcelona just signed Torres. What would happen to him if Haaland were to show up? Oh yeah, Torres from Manchester City. Ferran Torres. Is Ferran Torres a winger? Is he a forward? What's his natural position?
He's he's played. Yeah, I think he's a winger mostly. Yeah, so they could coexist for sure. I mean, he's played as a 9 for City, but he never really. I think he had some opportunities when Aguero and Jesus last season were hurt. So he did get a lot of time at the 9 spot, and he didn't do all that well consistently, which I think is why he became expendable. So I think he could play wide. I think that'd be fine. I just don't understand. I don't understand the Barcelona economic situation at all. It seemed like, they had to let Messi go for lack of funds, and now they're going to sign Haaland. I don't know in what world that makes any sense, but
I think the Messi situation was based on Spanish law a little bit. I think there's a rule that you can't have. I think you have to clear X amount of space. Less funds related and more regulation related, I think. Because Lionel Messi was on a unprecedented, bloated, like $85 million a year contract, which he deserves, by the way, for being the world's best player. I'm not decrying that, but I think his contract was just too big for Barcelona to keep in regulation. I think it was something related to that, and Paris Saint-Germain is like, we don't got regulations. Come on over here.
Come on over. We got all the money. We got all the money in the world.
And all the money in the world. And financial fair play here is a joke because they get regulated all the time. But seemingly they just spend and spend and spend and spend. And a rumor has it not all of that money is revenue generated by the club. I've heard
what?
That some of that might be a little bit of an injection from perhaps the UAE, or I believe wherever that money is coming, or Dubai.
I don't believe it.
Qatar. Is it Qatar?
Those are
some clubs are owned by Qatar.
Those are allegations.
Just
City.
Just rumors.
City it's Abu Dhabi, right? It's not.
Is it? Well, PSG and Man's. Yeah, I don't. Who knows? Some endless wealth.
Oil rich nation. Yeah.
Endless oil well. Cool. So that is Erling Haaland. The other thing I want to talk about is some very interesting comments from our old friend Dietmar Hamann.
Former national team player. Yeah.
Great. One of my favorites. He played for Liverpool for quite some time. He spent a lot of time in England. He scored when Germany beat England in the old Wembley Stadium, that 1-0 game. Mm-hmm. It was won by a great free kick from Dietmar Hamann, who was a great dead ball specialist back in the late 90s to early aughts, or the mid to late 90s to the aughts. He scored the last ever goal at Old Wembley Stadium. But anyway, Dietmar Hamann tweeted that Bayern beat Koln 4-0 with a bench made entirely of all their kids, with no Bundesliga minutes amongst them. Mm-hmm. And the Bundesliga isn't canceling or postponing any of their games due to COVID because, all these clubs have 30 to 40 players on the books. English clubs have more. I think some clubs have like 80 or 100 players because they have these loan armies. But other clubs more closer to 50 to 60 players. That's a lot of players on the books. And he's saying, why are English clubs canceling their games? You've got 40 players. Play, like, if you're missing 15, you've got other, like, play your kids. And the English clubs, instead of playing their kids, are just canceling their games. And I agree with Dietmar Hamann. I agree with Didi Hamann. Play your kids, man. You know.
Yeah, and I think they've painted themselves into a little bit of a corner in England, right? Because this kind of has gotten more and more games have been postponed, and now this last weekend there was big controversy because Tottenham, the London Derby was postponed, and it wasn't just about COVID. Arsenal had people suspended for red cards and injuries, and so it was a little bit like Pandora's box has now been opened. If you postpone games for not having enough players available, it's kind of, where does it end, and now I think they probably have to revisit those rules a little bit. It's really like any other injury, right? Like if people can't play, then they can't play.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like with suspensions and injuries. It's like, that's whatever. That's on you. If you're the club, again, you have 50 players. Play. These games will go ahead. Everyone has, as long as everyone's held the same standards, right? Everyone is like, everyone says you will play on Saturday. You have to play on Saturday. So figure that out. If you've got injuries, if you have suspensions, people have to be isolated. It is what it is. But the clubs are deep enough where they just have to go forward. I think this is a great opportunity for players to get some minutes, and maybe, inevitably there'll be a surprise or two. Maybe someone will keep their spot. You know what I mean? They need opportunities somewhere. The issue in England is it's just impossible for youngsters to get opportunities. The spots are closed. And I'll say that MLS in some ways feels a little similar in the fact that they're always ready to just hire a more established player and not risking the idea of bringing someone through or playing a kid. They just don't want to risk it. And in England, that's almost, no one's risking that. It's like they have the kids there, they're playing the reserves, but they have no plans on actually doing anything with them when they're done, unless they're a world superstar, So, shame on you, England. Play those games and play your kids. A message here from Stefan Schnitzel.
All right. Here.
Here. Speaking of that, it is MLK Day, and we have a very special edition of Fighting the Man, and that was the Erling Haaland piece on him versus Dortmund. And is it red? Do you want to hop and skip across the pond back here stateside? Do you have any other Germany things you want to bring up?
No, that's it. Oh, if we missed the Mainz Bochum game, that was fine. That's fine.
Oh yeah,
Bochum,
I was going to talk about that for a
Bochum
bit.
lost. We got it.
Bochum's...
Bochum lost. We got missed a penalty. There was a little bit of tussling about who would take it, and then Polter did, and he did a very poor job. But it was sort of a kind of a soft call to begin with. Probably shouldn't have been a penalty. And the coach says it's not a big deal. There was a lot of talk about this penalty, who takes it, and the coach says it's ridiculous. We don't need to talk about it. They can figure it out. We got the first look at the poor man's Pepi. Jürgen Locadia came off the bench. FC Cincinnati reject. Jürgen Locadia played 10 minutes.
Cincinnati reject doing the Bundesliga.
Played 10 minutes, and we'll see. He looks like he's a more direct number 9 than Polter is. So definitely somebody that Bochum could use. We'll see. It was 10 minutes. It's fine. We gotta look at him. That's it.
But it was, Bochum won a great run, and it ended with a 1-0 against Mainz. Who are you guys playing next week?
Yes.
Well, either way, let's see who they got next week. Bochum, putting you on the spot.
I don't know.
They are playing Mainz against tomorrow.
Well, first, right. Mainz in the cup. Yes.
Tomorrow. And then
that I know, and then Koln at home. All right, might
Koln at home. That'll be a good. They can win that.
Could win that. Maybe
Modeste will be there.
We'll see.
Us, so,
first, Locadia hat trick. Yeah, But we're gonna go across the pond. Yeah, it's sort of. I was thinking we could talk about, the career paths part 2. Yep, that's right.
To America. So we're talking. So yeah. So this is.
Yeah, last week we talked. Right, last week we talked about people going to Europe, Americans going to Europe. That's the kind of what a lot of people think of as the standard career path. And so today I thought we'd highlight a little bit the road less traveled, the other way. Could start talking about Jack Harrison, for example. He's not a German person, but he's an NYCFC person, and he scored a hat trick this weekend. That's what made me think of that. 3 goals for Leeds United against West Ham, road win. And Jack Harrison was in the Man United system as a young boy, and his mother, who was a single mom at when he was 14, decided that there was no guarantees in the Man U system for him to become a pro, and she decided to send him to America, send him to the US. He went to a very fancy prep school in Massachusetts, the Berkshire, I think it's the Berkshire School, where he got a soccer scholarship for a private education, and then won like high school player of the year or something like that. Went to Wake Forest, a college, and briefly also played in New York for an academy team, and then NYCFC tried to pass him off as a homegrown. That was rejected by the league, and so we had to trade for him in the draft. He went as the number 1 draft pick in the MLS Super Draft, came to NYCFC, played there for a year and a half, did very well. Frank Lampard particularly kind of took a shine to him and thought that he was a good talent. He actually even got called up for the England U21s. That was a pretty big deal for somebody who was playing in America at the time. And and then went. I think City bought his rights and then loaned him out to Middlesbrough. There was a very funny Pep Guardiola interview. He played very briefly for them in the preseason, and Pep sort of struggled to know who he was, but. Right. Eventually, he kind of.
This relates back to England having 80 players on their books.
Right, exactly.
Any of them. So.
And then played in Middlesbrough, and then changed to Leeds first in the Championship, helped them get promoted, and then remained a starter, and has done really very well. Eventually signed, now belongs to Leeds. Leeds finally signed him, and
he played for them, and he was a part of that championship squad. Did they win the championship that year? I know they got.
Yeah, they did, and then
they won the championship, and then they came to the Premier League.
Came in the Premier League, and Jack scored the first goal. I drafted him for my fantasy team, sort of almost as a joke, as my last pick. I was like, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? And not only did he start against Liverpool, scored the very first goal for Leeds after being promoted in the Premier League. So just an interesting kind of career path that is very unusual for an English player to sort of take the circuitous route.
He came to America.
To develop.
America made his way back to England. No, that's a very cool story. That's a very, very cool story. And
his mom also.
His bigger point being
Well, I guess
you don't have to. The doors are closed, so you have to leave. And I know a lot of English players are going to Germany, like Jude Bellingham, like a Jadon Sancho, Reece Oxford. We're seeing these young English players. And there was a dude named, what was his name? Anthony Forrester or Andy Forrest. I forgot his name.
Who
played for? No, I forgot the guy who played for Leipzig, the Scotsman. Well, maybe they got from Nottingham Forest. I forgot his name, but he went to Leipzig, was kind of a big revelation there, and then made his way back to the UK to a bigger club after that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are ways to get playing time, and it's seemingly not in England. So props to Jack Harrison for going to the States and making his way through the college system. His mom sort of, his mom kind of having that vision of,
there's lots of talented kids in the Man United system. Not everybody makes it, at least in this way. He would have had an education if it hadn't worked out, but it also did work out. His mom, also much beloved by NYCFC fans. She came to a lot of games and was always a lovely presence among the fans. And so, yeah, just a great story. And just the larger point, like you're saying, speaks to that. I guess what I'm promoting is just a more subtle, more subtle and differentiated viewpoints on these issues versus saying like, well, this is the way to do it. There's one career path and that's what you have to follow. There's many ways to go.
MLS Super Draft a week ago, which used to be a big deal. Nowadays it's an afterthought, but there's still talent to be had on that old system. One of my favorite analysts is Shaka Hislop on ESPN. I love Shaka Hislop. Mm-hmm. And Shaka Hislop, he's I think he's an English-born Trinidadian or Tobagan, one or the other. And he spent time with the English youth national team. But his roots were here in the States. He went to Howard University, played college soccer. Mm-hmm. I think he was drafted to the MISL, the Major Indoor Soccer League, in like 1992.
Right.
But went to England instead. I think trialed or signed with West Ham or Newcastle or something like that, and had a long career in England. But he was a 22-year-old, 23-year-old out of college doing that. That doesn't get spoken of enough. That was very unheard of. Especially back then, right when the Premier League was starting, to have some guy come out of the college system and go straight to being a pro in Europe. So the college system is there. Guys like, Clint Dempsey, one of the greatest U.S. players of all time, went to Furman, which was not a big soccer school. He was sort of overlooked by the bigger soccer programs. Mm-hmm. Crushed it at Furman, was drafted via the Combine, to the Revs, and just became a total beast to the Revs. But he was 22, 23 before he was a pro, and then went strength to strength and just became an absolute beast, playing his prime for a little bit at Tottenham, and then, scoring those great World Cup goals. So, there's some players blossom a little bit later.
Yeah, come later, and there's lots of paths for different people. The college game has lost significance with the kind of rise in MLS academies. The academies have and it sort of speaks to what you were saying last week, that the teams look to get their hands on these players earlier. If you're, for the most part, they're trying to get you into the system at 16, 17. So the college game no longer has the relevance in terms of supplying MLS with talent as it used to. But there's still some players to be found. I have a little addendum, I guess, to what we were talking last week about Dante Polvara. Speaking of college, he was the college player of the year this year, and he was from the NYCFC Academy. And I said that I assumed that NYCFC had offered him a contract and he had just decided to go to Scotland instead. But apparently that's not the case. We heard from his college coach this year, and he was saying how when he was around 16, basically NYCFC had decided that they're not going to sign him. And so they didn't want to have him, and even after he did well in college. So that's interesting. That was interesting to hear that he was, which also sort of speaks to this idea,
Matthew Hoppe was a Galaxy reject, I think, or Matthew Hoppe was turned down by an MLS Academy and went independent, and now he's finally getting some minutes back in Spain again. That said, just because you should give people second or third shots. If you can't sign him at 16, whatever, check again at 18, check again at 20.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how Dante does in Aberdeen. We wish him all the best. And but again,
signed. Do you know the Alex Kai story with Real Salt Lake?
No, I don't.
The youngest professional contract.
Yeah. Okay, is that his name? Yeah.
He beat even younger than Freddie Adu. So
you thought that was a record that would not be broken, but here we are.
MLS is like, hold my beer. We'll sign him young. We'll sign him young.
That's incredible. But I just wanted say one more thing about, and that'll transition into our next thing. NYCFC has a history, because this is what the college coach, Dante's college coach, was saying, that to NYCFC's credit, they did not, because they own his MLS rights, because he's a homegrown from the academy, they did not stand in his way when he decided to go to Aberdeen. And I was going to shout out NYCFC for being good about that, like letting the kids go when the time is right for them to go, like whether it's Joe Scally or now Jimmy Sands. I don't like the move, but apparently he wanted this move, and the team acquiesced, even though it's probably not the best deal for the club in terms of that 18-month loan with
Scottish fans. It's like five leagues of step up. It's like a huge step up.
Right.
So,
well, it just
five times as fast and 5 times as strong. And
we'll see. But anyway, just saying that NYCFC has been pretty good about giving the players what they want and sort of supporting them in their choices. And not all MLS teams are like that. We have learned again this week in the case of one Kellen Acosta.
That's right. I just want to say real quick, New York Red Bulls, very hit or miss with that. The big story is Aaron Long. West Ham really wanted to sign Aaron Long 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, or maybe even less than. And just Red Bulls just would not settle on a price. They really overvalued him. I think West Ham offered $5 million, and MLS, they wanted more. They wanted more. But, with Ricardo Pepi's $20 million super record, I mean, there were rumors he was going to go for 10. So for a 28-year-old defender getting $5 million, I think that's properly valued.
Seems pretty good.
Consider that much of an inflation.
I guess he wasn't the captain. If he was the captain of the team, they would have taken.
Yeah, they would have got rid of him instantly. They
would have left on a free.
Keep your $5 million. We're going to come up with a mutual agreement to let him go on a free. It's okay. That's all it takes. So you're right. If he had the Captain Orange band, he would have been gone. Lickety split. But it leads to guys like Kyle Duncan and Sean Davis walking out on a free. So some clubs are definitely better than others. The league overall has just gotten better about it as of late, which is nice. A few years ago, MLS was like just not selling any of their players, including Kellen Acosta. And apparently Kellen Acosta had an offer from Europe, and MLS nixed it, and they forced him to go to LAFC. So this is a thing about American soccer, that MLS is a single entity system. Mm-hmm. So technically all the players sign a contract with the league, not the it's like the club. It's like the league. It's a club through the league. So it's a league contract. And that means that clubs can just trade players willy-nilly, and the players don't really have a say in it. There was an interview with Walker Zimmerman when LAFC traded him away. Big mistake, by the way. Essentially got a phone call. It's like, you're going to Nashville. Bye. And then him and his wife and his baby, they had to pick up the crap and go to Nashville. Like they don't really have a say in it. In Europe, that's so crazy. Like in Europe, that's not a thing at all. Players sign their contracts with their clubs, and then it's up to them. Like when the contract is over, the club can say no to them, but then they can then go find some other club, Right. Or if they want to get sold, they have a say. They're allowed to put in a request. Clubs wanting money on, there's much. The players in Europe have a much bigger say in their transfers than they do here in the United States.
There's the thing about getting traded, and the other thing that players really hate in MLS is the unilateral option. A lot of teams have annual options on players' contracts so that they can decide at the end of the season, do I keep you for another year? And those are for many years, often like 3-4 option years. Where
intro contract is like a 2 + 1 + 1 + 1, right? So like
something
entirely
like
up
that.
to the club whether they want to keep the player or not. It's not really.
Yeah. So it's so even players that are very performing very well have a hard time getting paid their value. Yeah.
Question from Tom, which is what we were going to bring up, right? He's bringing up Miles Robinson. He's saying, "Do you think it's Miles Robinson? Do you think it's Atlanta?"
Yeah,
That's a good question.
I heard that
it
Miles doesn't really want to go. I don't know if that's how true that is. I don't think I didn't hear it from him directly, but it seems like he doesn't. And I mean, again, like I said last week, good for him. He's got a solid starting role on a very ambitious MLS team.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I think it's great. So I agree. Not everybody should just drop everything and go to Europe. Paul Arriola is going to Club America, Mexico City. I'm very interested in that move. Club America, a very big traditional Mexican club. I think that is a step up for him, and it'll challenge him in a good way. Yeah. I'm curious to see if he can earn a starting spot in Club America, if he can win titles with them. Back in the day, the big thing was Landon Donovan, right? Landon Donovan stayed. He didn't go to Europe. When he went to Europe, he went to Bayer Leverkusen, went to Bayern München. They were very brief, very forgettable loan stints.
Yeah, it didn't work for him. Yeah.
No, and he didn't want to leave. He wanted to make $1 million a year, which at the time was a big deal. Hang out in L.A., where he's from, be near his mom, be near his sister, surf, and all that, all the stuff he wanted to do. He didn't. He wanted to stay here, and that was sort of the big, And then later, Michael Bradley and Clint Dempsey and Josie Altidore came back. And that was sort of the whole, okay, it's cool that they're here. It's cool they're making money, but they're not they're our best players, and they're not pushing themselves to their limits.
Yeah.
So there is that. However, with Jordan Morris, when he went to Swansea, I was really excited because he is a great player. And I think Jordan Morris is such a raw talent. And I'm glad he finally made his way over. He had some terrible luck, and he had to just go straight back with that injury coming right back out of England. But I love seeing guys like that go challenge themselves. If Jordan Morris doesn't leave and stays, he kind of has that same, you can tell he's sort of addicted to home. I think his family's at home. He's not in a rush to go to Europe, So, that is what it is. As long as he's still in great form, which he seems to be, then I'm fine with him staying. I don't know how much better he's going to get, But for someone like Kellen Acosta, he wants to go to Europe. He wants to go challenge himself. Yeah. And Kellen Acosta is a dude that has talent but needs discipline and needs consistency. And like I mentioned last time, if you want consistency, Europe will give that to you. If you want to succeed in Europe, you have to be consistent, if nothing else. So I think that'll be very healthy for him. And also at his age, how old is Kellen Acosta? I think he's 28. He's one of those guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let me see here. Kellen Acosta. No, he's 26. 26 is the perfect age right now to move to Europe. 2 or 3 years from now, it'll be too late.
He really got caught in the MLS web of bullshit.
Right.
Even the trade.
You have to stay here,
And it was clear that when he got traded to Colorado, because Colorado played such a big fee for him, it was clear that was going to make it hard for him. Because the thing is, because of all the salary restrictions, people are hard to replace in MLS. Even if you get $5 million or $3-4 million, I mean, how much would Kellen Acosta get? Yeah.
Right.
But it was
Colorado was hit because he was also a little out of favor at FC Dallas. He was kind of a wunderkind, and then he wasn't really playing, so he went to Colorado to reinvigorate himself, and it worked.
But he wanted to go to Europe then, and Dallas took the money from Colorado, but then it was clear that it was going to be hard for him to go, and that sort of has now borne itself out in that Colorado, instead of selling him to Europe, just traded him to LAFC. After they just spent,
want to get rid of him is my question.
I think it's a financial thing. They have Mark Anthony. I mean, it's sort of like they spent the same amount of money on Mark Anthony Kaye that they now are getting for Kellen Acosta. So it's sort of almost a straight swap, which I don't know. I think
going on there.
I would rather have Kellen Acosta, maybe. I don't know, but
it's a big win for LAFC.
And LAFC is looking shrewd. They have Izzy Tajuri Shradi, and they've acquired some people. What were you going to say?
No, 100%. Yeah, we'll see. LAFC is doing some moves in the offseason under mayor of Hanover, Steven Cherundolo, Sharon Dolo, whoever they would say. But the other thing, this is sort of semi-related. But I would be more okay with intra-MLS moves, because there are not enough. And I guess the system precludes this, or the system forbids this, is I would like when Darlington Nagbe went to Atlanta, I'm like, I love that move. Like Kellen Acosta going to LAFC is a cool move. I want LAFC to get Kellen Acosta. I want them to go get Jesus Ferreira from FC Dallas. I want clubs to make intra moves to sign established players from other clubs. It seems like, I want LAFC to try to spend $1 million to get Aaron Long, or maybe get Walker Zimmerman back. Like, I want MLS clubs to value intra. Like, why isn't anybody giving Nashville $3 million for Hani Mukhtar? You know what I mean? Wouldn't NYCFC want a player like Hani Mukhtar? So, like, I want clubs to sign great players from within their league. And that's just something that MLS tries to forbid with their parity structure.
Well, they don't want...
I, for one, would be a fan of changing that, to be honest.
Well, I think this is something that people kind of agree on in general, that somehow in order for the league to grow, there should be some relaxation of these rules, or some to make it easier for people to compete. I think there's a battle. It's like, I've used this not on this podcast, but I've used this analogy. Like, MLS is like an old Manhattan co-op building. They have, some people bought in. Some people have had their apartments for 40 years. They bought them for $75,000 in the 80s.
Robert Kraft.
And now Robert Kraft. And now they have people coming in who are buying the same apartment for $2 million. And so those people want the hallways to be renovated. They want the roof deck to be accessible, and the old owners are like, what? No, we just want the common charge. We just want the common charge to be low. We can't afford any of that. And I think that's
100%.
I think that is that's the conflict. And the more you have people coming in like Blitzer and like these new owners, it's going to be, eventually the tide is going to turn. But
riddle me this. What's smarter? $15 million a year on Lorenzo Insigne, or $1 million a year on Demir Krejla, Hani Mukhtar, Aaron Long, Tati Castellanos, Kellen Acosta, Jordan Morris. What's smarter? What's a better roster?
You don't have to sell me on that one. I think the Insigne deal, we've talked about that before. It's like, I think it's completely, just the amount of money is just disproportionate in terms of the budgets of the league. So, I mean, we'll see how good he is. I'm sure he's going to be good, but how good would he have to be to make that worthwhile? But I agree with you. But I think
with letting it happen, like letting the American Super Club happen, it means the smaller clubs, because it already exists. There are the high spending clubs and low spending clubs. It's not that that's not a thing. A low spending clubs is a great place for all these great MLS academies and colleges, all this great talent to go make a name for themselves. Like, that's how it works. Hani Mukhtar goes to, let's say NYCFC becomes a super club. Hani Mukhtar goes to NYCFC. Walker Zimmerman.
What do you mean becomes a super club?
Yes, becomes a super club.
Can you see this cup on my hat?
I could see that you're going to have 2 home games in Los Angeles in 2 months. I could see that.
Yeah, we do need a stadium. That cannot be denied. Yes.
All right, let me pick a different example. Let's say Toronto becomes a super club that it's trying to be, which it is, and more props to them. Like when Hani Mukhtar goes to Toronto and Tati Castellanos goes to Toronto, and then there's some new kid from the NYCFC Academy who gets to be the new scorer for NYCFC. There's some kid from Nashville too, or maybe someone who showed up at Real Salt Lake gets to move over and make it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a natural order of things when someone, and it's also exciting to see whether players will go perform for their new clubs. Will they perform together? Will these super clubs work? that's the kind of stuff that you're used to. And I won't just say in Europe. I lived in Brazil as a kid, and I remember right before I moved there, Palmeiras became a super club. They bought Rivaldo, they bought Roberto Carlos, they bought a lot of great Brazilians that we came to learn and love. They all played for Palmeiras in the 95-96 season because Palmeiras wanted to be a super club. How exciting is that? It's a national news story. People tune in. It's a fun thing. I would love for an MLS club to just go for it and be like, I'm going to buy all the highest value players the last 2 years and make a super team,
Yeah, I guess, the Galaxy were that for a little bit, and
they try.
And they tried. I think this new, we mentioned it last week, and I just read something about it again. This new media deal that apparently is about to be announced over the next month or two. We're going to know the new, and that's going to be a dramatic change in terms of how MLS is going to appear in media or streaming or whatever. However this goes, it's going to be a big difference to how it is now, and it's going to come with a large increase in income in one way or another, and that's and then it'll be interesting to see how that then affects if the league then takes that as an opportunity to relax the
Yeah. There's been a lot of improvements. I remember back in the day when I started watching, this is pre-DP, every MLS roster, their entire budget was, I think, $2.2 million. The entire 22 players, 25 players they had to have, So long, those days are long gone. But there's still a lot of improvement, especially if you want to match Mexico in the CCL. It's not the starting lineup, it's the bench, it's the depth.
Yeah, in fairness, there are these initiatives that do work. The TAM initiative that has improved the middle of the roster, the young DPs, and so it's not like nothing's happened, and it's not like these things don't work. But it's going to be interesting to see. Right. So it's going to be interesting to see once there's more money. Is that going to mean a little bit of sort of more flexible rules, or is it just going to be the same system kind of doubled in size? We'll see.
I feel that MLS is ready. I understand why it happened, and it was very smart. The single entity structure was designed mainly by one Sunil Gulati, former U.S. soccer president, who was working for the league at the time. I believe that MLS has earned in its 25 years. They've done really excellent financial decisions. They're running very well like a tight ship. I think it's time to rip the salary rules, just to rip that up a little bit, to knock that a little bit wide open. I would love to simplify it, make it a little bit just more open. You can still have financial control. I like the way Major League Baseball does it. When a team like when a team signs a big player, they have to pay a luxury tax that goes to the other clubs. There are certain rules you can still keeps things relatively equitable, but doesn't tie the hand. I remember the New York Red Bulls had a player named Marcus Holgersson. He came in from Norway at like $300K a year, which for an MLS is big money. And he started off a little weak, but he earned his keep, and he became a rock solid center back. He was one of our best center backs, became a really key New York Red Bulls player. When it came time for contracts, they got rid of him simply because, like always, quote unquote, we need to free up cap space, end quote. Yep. I would love, he earned his contract. You know what I mean? I would love it if we were allowed to have signed him to $500,000 a year, because he earned it. He was a player that earned it. I hate the fact that you see that less, but I just hate the fact that a lot of off-season moves have to do with just cutting the cap all the time and things like that.
Yeah.
I would love players to be able to earn contracts, and, I would just love to be a little more flexibility and openness on the MLS books. That's my wish for moving forward for MLS.
Are those our parting words?
So perhaps we're a little older than Ricardo Costa. I wish him the best at LAFC. He's going to come out, catch him. Maybe he can make his way to Europe next year. I feel it's every player's right in MLS to be able to go where they want to go if they can earn it. So to see him being forced to stay here, as a fan, I don't like it. Thumbs down. Thumbs down for me.
Yep.
And those are my parting words. Any final thoughts from you, Bjorn?
That's it. No, I agree. Kellen Acosta should go where he wants to go. Although
2 schnitzels on the same page.
he's also,
Cheers.
I think he's going to be happy in LA too. But yeah.
Maybe it'll be a good move for him. We'll see.
All right.
Either way,
We'll see you next
very much
week.
for tuning in. Thank you again, Tom.
Thanks
for
for
coming
shout out to Tom.
Shout out to Tom.
We'll talk to you
number
next
one
week.
Schnitzel Cup. I'll see you next week, Tom. Thanks again. All right, take it easy, everybody. Cheers.
Bye.